We've all wished to be more successful in our lives.
I literally want to die instead of fail. Die. Death.
Maybe you talk about achieving a lot of things, but you never actually do the work. Maybe you set yourself a goal, you work on the goal for a few weeks, and then you give up because you don't see the instant results. I know I've definitely done both of those things and even more. Today I thought I'd use my own experience to help you become a little bit more successful in any aspect of your life. Now, the first thing you want to establish is what success looks like for you personally. Now, to help me talk about this, I got my good friend Matt Swain to be in the video. Matt has a massive range of experiences. He's worked your standard corporate job, he's got a number of creative outlets, including his own blog, and he's recently worked with Stephen Bartlett, who is the newest dragon in the BBC programme Dragon's Den. Now, the question I wanted to ask Matt is, if I asked you how to be more successful, what would you say? And here's how it went.
Yeah, so I think the first step in order to be more successful is working out what success means for you. You know, there are so many externally driven societal versions of success, like, you know, what's your job title, how many houses you have, and all that kind of generic stuff. But I think you're always going to be very unfulfilled and feel inside unsuccessful despite getting what the world tells you to get. And I had this realization myself, you know, I was driving my nice car, I had my job title, and I got kind of nods of approval wherever I walked, and yet inside I felt so unsuccessful because I was unfulfilled, de-energized, unhappy. And it's so ironic now that, you know, to the outside world I'm a lot less successful, but yet inside I feel like I've never been more successful because I've really worked on what that means for me. And you know, again, let's take the example of my book. So currently writing a book, and to the outside world, what does a successful book look like? Well, it's like whether it's a Sunday Times bestseller, or how many copies get sold, or, you know, how much money it generates. But for me, what's going to make my book successful is how good I think it is. You know, it's about me pouring everything I can into that book. And suddenly, by doing that, I've taken back control of success. Suddenly, I can choose and like define and control that success. And so what you want to do is take that control back in all of the other areas of your life. So health, you know, relationships, and just any kind of project that you're working on. How can you take back success and define it in your own way? And then, yeah, that will lead to you, in the long run, feeling much more successful inside, which is what really counts.
Now, once you've figured out what your own definition of success is, it's time to figure out some practical ways in which you can achieve the said success. Now, in one of my favourite books, Atomic Habits by James Clear, if you haven't read it, you should probably read it, he talks about the idea of being 1% better every day. Now, it's this idea of extremely slow growth that I really like, as, you know, you might not be at your goals within a week, a month, a year, or multiple years, depending on how big your goals are. But if you are getting 1% better each day and 1% closer to your goals each day, then you will be at a significantly better point in your life than you were when you started. Now, one other piece of practical advice is the idea of working well under pressure. And if you look at all the hyper-successful people in their fields, you know, athletes, top businessmen, you know, they all understand that you need to work well under pressure. So take Ronaldo, for example, right? He's in this stadium, everyone's crowded around him, people that are emotionally and financially invested in him, as well as the people back at home watching the TV. And they're all expecting so much of him because of his name, you know, Ronaldo. They're all expecting him to perform at the top standard. And he always does, you know, he always scores goals. What's he mastered? Working well under pressure. Working well despite all the talk, all the eyes watching him, all the financial backing that goes into it. Now, everyone feels pressure. You probably feel pressure. Probably not quite to Ronaldo scale, but you know, you probably still feel pressure emotionally, financially, physically. But the only way to prosper in what you're doing is by working even with all of that pressure on top of you. So how do you do this, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. The way to do this is by practice. So, mastering your craft, getting so good at what you do that getting it wrong isn't even an option. When you get to this stage that working under pressure just becomes natural because you've mastered it and you know what you're doing. So always remember, competence breeds confidence. So yeah, these are just a few ideas I had. I thought I would condense them and put them together and share them with you. If you did enjoy it and it did help you, then subscribe and leave a like, and don't worry, there's plenty more to come. Thank you very much.